Steve also explains why farmers may be reluctant to jump into growing biofuel agriculture, which results in a low supply of available fuel crops.
Well, contrary to what one might think, given how expensive energy is, there's actually not very much money in growing canola for farmers. There is one other reason farmers sometimes want to avoid growing canola, to avoid cross-pollination issues.
Born and raised on a farm, Janaea Holmquist understands the challenges of farming and of growing new crops.
I grew up on a farm, so my parents were farmers, and we raised cattle, horses, and hay. And there's a natural hesitancy because it's a crapshoot when you're a farmer. There's so many things up in the air that have direct impacts on your livelihoods. And what I really find across all the counties in the state, including Walla Walla County, is once the infrastructure is up and running, you're going to see farmers that are going to say, okay, it's a reality. All right, there's contracts available. Where do I sign up? I know that, though, that there is an interest in Walla Walla County. I've heard from some farmers there, and I think there's a few in that area that are already growing soy, which is very exciting. And so I look forward to working with the farmers over there in Walla Walla County as this industry becomes a realization.
Despite the current low production of biocrops in eastern Washington, farmers like Dean Boyer of the Washington Farm Bureau are optimistic.
Most biodiesel today, as you may know, is produced from soybeans, but growers here in Washington are looking at other high-oil seeds, including canola and mustard seed, that show great promise.
Aside from a low supply of local biodiesel crops, driven by an understandable apprehension of the current infrastructure, some biodiesel producers are choosing to import fuels from abroad, perhaps because they are cheaper. This is what the Port of Walla Walla is doing. Paul Girola, the Economic Development Director of the port, explains.
The plant that's being proposed in Burbank will bring in palm oil from probably the Malaysia area to get the plant started and then turn it over to canola or soybean oil. There's just not enough canola oil grown locally in the state of Washington, even in the state of Oregon, to support a plant of this size.
Martin Tobias, CEO of Imperium Renewables and its subsidiary, Seattle Biodiesel, also comments on the low supply of local biodiesel. The new Emporium Renewable Production Facility, which will be the largest on the West Coast, has the opportunity to seek out diverse fuel interests.
We would love to be buying our raw materials from Washington farmers and other farmers in the Northwest, and we hope to if they can ramp up their growing of oilseeds in this region.
Despite the opportunity, this is not currently the case. Martin's new facility will be supplied with 100% palm oil, shipped directly from Malaysia.
Imperium Renewables is at the forefront of making renewable fuels a really viable, sustainable alternative to petroleum.
But to who? The use of palm oil overlooks local agricultural capacity and fuels rapid tropical rainforest deforestation in Southeast Asia. According to a 2005 report by the Center for Science in the Public Interest, the amount of virgin forest decimated for palm oil farming has increased 30-fold since the 1970s. This is an incredible loss considering that 70% of the Earth's wildlife and plant species live in such forests. Palm oil harvests are also devastating to soil and water, but are unlikely to cease because it is a mainstay of both Malaysia and Indonesia's economy and is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Introspection reveals that although fuels made from palm oil still benefit the state, they do not address the goals of farming-inspired legislation. The increased supply of biodiesel in Washington state was not intended to come from rainforests halfway around the world. Biodiesel production in Washington state demonstrates a strong influence of postmodern materialism, the theory that as people become wealthier and their standard of living increases, they will care more about the environment. Although the increased use of biodiesel is a positive change in our lives, such values support our environmental quality by displacing waste and ravaging resources elsewhere. This paradox reveals conflicts between people living in a society that allows business interests to dominate public interests. It also sheds light on the American values many of us were raised believing, and our own unique sociological imaginations. Why does this matter so much to me? My family is part owner of Seattle Biodiesel, but for the wrong reasons. In fact, it is one of the reasons I am here at Whitman. What can we do in the shadow of such nebulous and complicated issues? Well, that's a good question. To begin, we can allow ourselves to explore ideas that challenge the way we live, question the way we think, and dare to unfold the issues that we have the power to change. To end with inspiration, following is Janaea Holmquist's response to my question, what most excites you about the future of biodiesel in Washington State. Her words reveal truth and perspective.
It's just such a win-win for our entire state. It's also about a vision. It's a vision for our future. I always think when I'm thinking of the inception and journey of this bill, of the Renewable Fuel Standard, a proverb in the Old Testament always comes to mind, and that's the proverb of where there is no vision, the people perish. And when we're looking at spurring on an industry such as renewable fuels, it's a win-win for our entire state. It's a win-win for our nation. We're talking about strengthening our economy and our environment, as well as helping to diversify agriculture, and in this case, by creating a new commodity market for biodiesel crops. And then, of course, it's one step towards lessening our dependence on foreign and domestic oil. So this is about a vision for our future of our state, for future generations, and for our nation. And that's what excites me so much, is it's a win-win.
This study accompanies others on environmental social issues in Walla Walla County and is a production of KWCW Whitman College Radio.
The Whitman Environment is produced and edited by Sarah Golden and is distributed by KWCW 90.5 FM. A special thanks today to Kari Norgard for supplying the final piece.